Will everyone please stand for the presentation of the colors by the New York State Court Ceremonial Unit. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing as we invite Officer Peter Robinson to sing our national anthem. Peter.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Will everyone please be seated? Next in our program is a musical salute in honor of our graduates by the New York State Court's Pipes and Drums. Good morning. Good morning, Chief. Welcome to our graduates, family members, friends, and to the court officials here with us to celebrate this very special day. As we begin our graduation ceremony, I'd like to introduce the high-ranking officials seated on our dais, and I'd ask that they stand as they are announced. Representing the judiciary, the Deputy Chief Administrative Judge for all courts outside of New York City, the Honorable Michael V. Kokoma. Deputy Chief Administrative Judge for Justice Initiatives, the Honorable Edwina G. Mendelson. The Administrative Judge for New York County Supreme Court Criminal Term, the Honorable Ellen Bybin. The Administrative Judge for the 3rd Judicial District, the Honorable Thomas Breslin. From the trial courts, Chief of Staff for the Honorable Michael V. Kokoma, Mr. Scott Murphy. Deputy Chief of Staff for the Honorable Michael Kokoma, Jennifer DeLallo. The District Executive for the Suffolk County Courts, Mr. Warren Clark. District Executive for the 8th Judicial District, Mr. Andrew Eisenberg. The Borough Chief Clerk for Bronx Criminal Court, Mr. William Kalish. And from the Office of Court Administration, Chief of Administration, Mr. John George, Esquire. Representing the uniformed force of the Unified Court System, the Chief of the Department of Public Safety, Michael Magliano. Chief Luis Valcarcel. Chief Michael Sinise. Chief Sean Egan. Chief Alfred Moscola. Chief David Joseph. Chief Stephen Bizgaya. Chief Barry Levers. Chief Thomas Ciesler. Major Clement Mack. Major Sammy Lamb. Major Francisco Cassiano. Major Michael Smaldone. Major Brian Negron. Major Donna Errett. Major Terrence Flanagan. Captain Harold Francis. Captain Wayne Luce. Captain Andrew Wender. Captain Vanetta Anderton. Captain Marcus Durham. Captain Kenneth Lausinger. Captain Anthony Rodriguez. Captain Michael Puma. And Captain Charles Tastenson. We are also honored to have many high-ranking officials of the court system, fraternal organizations, and other distinguished guests in our audience. And thank you so much for being here today. Next in our program, it is my honor and privilege to invite the Deputy Chief Administrative Judge for Justice Initiatives, the Honorable Edwina G. Mendelson, to administer the oath of office and address the Assembly. Your Honor.
Barely morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Judge.
My favorite thing in the world. One more time. Good morning.
Good morning, Judge.
If I could take you home, I would. Good morning, everyone. And this is truly one of the favorite things in my life, being able to witness this court officer graduation time and time again. I welcome you. It's my honor, it's my privilege to administer the oath of office. At this time, I will ask the class to rise. Please raise your right hand. please repeat after me. I state your name. Not as tight as good morning. Do solemnly swear. That I shall uphold the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of New York. And shall perform the functions and duties. Of the office of Court Officer. Of the State of New York. To the best of my ability. So help me God. Please be seated.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm happy to announce that 124 court officer trainees have completed the first phase of their basic training, and as of today, are certified peace officers of the state of New York. We applaud your efforts, and we celebrate this milestone by presenting you with a certificate attesting to your achievement. We call upon the high-ranking officials and officers on our dais to make these presentations, and the first group will be presented by Chief of Department of Public Safety, Chief Michael Magliano. Mike?
Good afternoon, family and friends. This is the part of the program where you have one responsibility. Let your family know that you are present and you are excited for them, so when you hear the graduate's name, please cheer. With that said, Court Officer Paul Eckert. Court Officer Sean Wheeler. Court Officer Frank Liberti. Court Officer Jeffrey Renaud. Court Officer Adam Milajanowski. Court Officer Brian Wisely. Court Officer Jared Dumoulin. Court Officer Jason Schick. Court Officer Joshua Chapman. Court Officer Sean Flynn. Court Officer Melissa Mazuski Glenn. Court Officer Ryan Moskal. Court Officer Jacob Crawford. Court Officer Joshua Pratt. Court Officer Stephanie McConnell. Court Officer Peter Gilmer, Jr. Court Officer Zachary Church. Court Officer Nicholas Covey. Court Officer David Dixon. Court Officer Madeline Hayden. Court Officer Ian Wick. Court Officer Jake Sutliff. Court Officer Devin McDermott. Court Officer Brian Iorardi. Court Officer Malikwa Solomon. Court Officer Jason Corliss. Court Officer Michael DeLong. Court Officer Patrick Nody. Court Officer Douglas Barrett. Court Officer Tyler Osborne. Court Officer Jake Slaychek. Court Officer Alyssa Sullivan. Court Officer Patrick Landfear. Court Officer Scott Badaszewski. Court Officer Patrick Lang. Court Officer Jordan Frizillo. Court Officer Robert Mayers. Court Officer John Claroni, Jr. Court Officer Albert Voss, Jr. Court Officer Jennifer Misek. Court Officer Erin Rice. Court Officer Albert Monteforte III. Court Officer Victoria Asascalo. Court Officer Alfred Aubin. Court Officer Raymond Lockmer, Jr. Court Officer Sylvester Smith. Court Officer Joseph McCann. Court Officer Anthony Ward. Court Officer Alexandra Diaz. Court Officer Nicholas Hilton. Court Officer Haley Zakari. Court Officer Taisha Mapp Wenham. Court Officer Dennis Moreland. Court Officer Christopher Alessandro. Court Officer Joseph Zack. Court Officer John Callanan. Court Officer Thomas Kennelly. Court Officer Stephen Sellers. Court Officer Andrew McGlenn. Court Officer Matthew DeGennaro. Thank you. Court Officer Ibert Glenn. Court Officer Thomas Lusk. Court Officer Brian Walsh. Court Officer Stephen Rodriguez. Court Officer Leland Alexander. Court Officer Blenda Belliard. Court Officer Nicholas Delgado. Court Officer Peter Mavis. Court Officer Alma Hardaway. Court Officer Ryan Wallace. Awesome. Court Officer Travis Mark. Court Officer Jacqueline Rogers. Court Officer Daniel Moran. Court Officer Alexander Albitz. Court Officer Jean Goshkadera. Court Officer John Barbuto. Court Officer Leighton Smith. Court Officer Tanya Jennings. Court Officer Joshua James. Court Officer Miguel Torres. Thank you. Court Officer Sean O'Malley. Court Officer Roger Rampasad. Court Officer Isaiah Lee. Court Officer Peter Tui. Court Officer Christopher Mangello. Court Officer John Bagetta. Court Officer Marvin Harriet. Court Officer Peter Conteros. Court Officer Keith Cravatas. Court Officer Philip de Blasi Jr. Court Officer Derek Rodriguez. Court Officer Kirk Kelty. Court Officer Susan Viveros. Court Officer Frank Patrizzo III. Court Officer Connor Syracuse. Court Officer Michael Maraventano. Court Officer Jeremy Smith. Court Officer Jonathan Geddes. Court Officer Daniel Clark. Court Officer Ralph Rosado. Court Officer Darius Rhodes. Court Officer Matthew Wood. Court Officer Joseph Torres. Court Officer Brian Lee. Court Officer Maria Venus. Court Officer Michael Riley. Court Officer David Chung. Court Officer Mateus Katrib. Court Officer Max Kane. Court Officer Daniel Gregus. Court Officer Michael Sinise. Every time. Court Officer William Mark. Court Officer Lolita Toro. Court Officer Bing Zhao. Court Officer Anthony J. Singh. Court Officer Paul Olson. Court Officer Jason Trunk. Court Officer Alfonso De Filippis. Court Officer Robert Nappy. Court Officer Nicole Wilson. Court Officer Frank Anselmo. Court Officer Michael Fernandez. Court Officer Thomas Sapienza. Court Officer Kenneth Fells.
You know, we try not to make any mistakes up here, but obviously we do, and I made a big mistake. I failed to mention two individuals who traveled a great distance to be here today to celebrate this special day with our graduates, and that's the Chief of the 9th Judicial District, Lawrence Daly. Chief. And from Manhattan Family Court, Captain Robert Maglino. Please forgive me. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to present to you the class of December 20th, 2017. It's nice to see the crowd come to life, too. There's 1,000 of us in this room. We should be rocking the walls. I now respectfully invite the Deputy Chief Administrative Judge for all courts outside of New York City, the Honorable Michael V. Kokoma, to address the Assembly. Your Honor.
Good afternoon. First of all, let me extend my personal congratulations to each and every one of you. It's a very uplifting ceremony, and I look forward to attending today's events as well as future graduation ceremonies. On behalf of the Chief Judge, the Honorable Janet D. Fiore, and the Chief Administrative Judge, the Honorable Lawrence Marks, I extend hearty congratulations to our graduating officers and welcome you to the ranks of the New York State Court Officers. Let's give them a round of applause again. And before I give my prepared remarks, I would like to recognize some members of the court system that are responsible for your being here today. We're going to recognize you and your families as well, but the process of bringing this class together, assembling them, identifying candidates for this class began many, 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 many months ago. And Lauren DeSalle, who's the director of our HR unit, her office plays a major role, along with Chief Magliano and Chief Basilari, in identifying the candidates, the applicants, going through the process of finding them fit and suitable to attend the class, and working with the administrative judges and the chief administrative judges in defining how big a class we can have and where those officers will be deployed. So I would like to thank them for the work that they did in bringing this class together, and give them a round of applause. Also, you were trained by officers, trainees from around the state, those who are assigned on a permanent basis or on a temporary basis to come to the academy and work with you in various aspects of your training. That's a sacrifice on their part. I'm sure you got to know each and every one of them, and they got to know you. You would not be here today without their hard work and effort. Let's give them a round of applause. And all of you would not be here today if you didn't have the support of your family and loved ones, many of whom are joining you here in this celebration. I was talking with Chief Basilari a few minutes ago, and he told me many of you came up on Sunday afternoons from various parts of downstate or the western part of the state, spent your week living out of a hotel room, as you attended your classes at the academy. A sacrifice on your part, a sacrifice on your family's part as well. So let's give a round of applause for your families. So your fellow officers throughout the state, as well as the judges and the court employees of the unified court system, commend you for your completion of your initial phase of training as court officers. You are following a long and proud tradition of officers. Many of the officers currently deployed throughout the state in our courts and other facilities commenced their service to this state as you have commenced your service by going through the same training that you have just completed. And I cannot emphasize to you how important your duties are. The rule of law is the touchstone of our democracy. The New York State court system is one of the largest court systems in the country. I believe we are second only to the state of California. We are larger than the federal court system. The judiciary is entrusted with the responsibility of providing a judicial process that is fair and efficient. Courts that are fair and efficient will have the respect of the public. And the late Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall was quoted once as saying, "The only real power that the judicial branch of government has is the respect of the people." You as court officers play a critical role in helping the judiciary earn and maintain that respect. In New York, our chief judge, approximately two and a half years ago, initiated what is known as the Excellence Initiative, in which she challenged each and every one of us, the judges, the non-judicial personnel, all of us who work for the unified court system, to perform excellence in everything that we do. She has ordered that we perform our duties, whatever role we play in the courts, with excellence, timely, and efficiently dispensing justice. If our judicial process is seen as unfair, unethical, or plagued by delay, respect for our courts will decline. And respect for the courts, if it declines, then our civil society will decline. We do not settle our disputes on street corners, in coffee shops, and at lunch counters. We settle them in courts of law, and you will play a critical role in seeing that that is fulfilled. In order to operate the courts, the mandate to the judiciary, the excellence mandate of the chief judge, is that our court facilities, our judges, our court employees, and the publics using those courts be safe. That's the role that you're going to play. Hence, the importance of your duties. In other words, the judges could not carry out their role and responsibility without being able to do so in an environment that is safe, not only for the court employees, but for the public that come into the court. And as New York State court officers, you play a critical role in the furtherance of the constitutional obligations of the New York State judiciary. Make no mistake about that. For many individuals, an appearance at a court facility, perhaps for jury service or as a witness in a trial proceeding, or for their own case, or simply as a spectator, it can be a daunting experience. You may be the first person the public sees upon entering the courthouse. The manner in which you interact with that person will leave a lasting impression upon them. The professional performance of your duties allows the judicial process to proceed in a timely and safe manner. And let me just share with you one personal experience that I recently had dealing with court officers. I recently presided over a felony criminal trial in the 4th Judicial District in Schenectady County. Very serious case with very serious charges, including homicide. It was a lengthy trial. In other words, the jury had to come in it took 3 weeks to dispose of the case. It's a lot of pressure on the attorneys representing the people and the defendant, on the judge assigned to the case, on the court staff, a lot of pressure, and on the court officers assigned to work with the judge and the court staff. Some of the officers that I worked with on that occasion, I'd worked with before. Others, it was my first opportunity to work with them. These officers were under the command of Chief David Joseph, who's here today, and under the direct, immediate supervision of Captain Wayne Luce, who's here today. And Sergeant Boyle, Robert Boyle, who is the officer in charge of the ceremonial detail here today, he was the sergeant in charge of the unit. By coincidence, he's here today. But the officers that I worked with, two of whom I'd never worked with them before. And as a trial judge, you're always concerned about keeping the jury protected so that they don't see and hear something that they're not supposed to see and hear, so that they're able to focus on the trial, so that they're safe. One of the evenings of deliberation, we deliberated into 7 o'clock in the evening, waiting to see if we could reach a verdict. And my concern is for the safety of the jurors as they leave that court facility. I didn't have to worry about it because the officers that I worked with put on their coats, walked those jurors to their cars. And all those jurors at the end of that trial expressed to me their appreciation for the work that the officers did. My observation of those officers that I worked with, their interaction with the jurors, their interaction with me, the assistance that they provided to the sheriff's personnel that were there maintaining the defendant who was in custody, and what I just explained, the late jury deliberations. All are examples of the professionalism that court officers exercise day to day. And I will tell you this, as a judge, it makes your job a lot easier because you don't have to do their job. They know how to do their job. And Captain Luce, knowing that I have an open door policy, he'll come and talk to me during the trial. We talk about security issues, what's going on. And that's just an example of working in the courts, working with the judge that you're assigned to work with, and being part of the team to ensure that justice is delivered. Courts must not only provide a fair application of the law and a resolution of legal disputes, but increasingly are asked to assist in tackling some of society's most heartbreaking social problems, including substance abuse, mental health issues, and family problems and financial problems. The people coming to our courts are under increasing stress due to pressing financial, family, and other personal problems. Well-trained and professional court officers are vital to ensuring that security and safety is maintained. Again, not only for the court personnel, but for other members of the public utilizing the courts. An alert and well-trained court officer is a deterrent to escalation of emotions, resulting in violent outbursts and disruption of court proceedings. And time and again, I am being informed of some actions by our court officers around the state to diffuse a situation before it gets out of control and before the courtroom, which is supposed to be an environment where we dispense justice in a calm and quiet atmosphere, turns into a melee. Recently, in a number of our courts, alert court officers have administered life-saving first aid, including CPR and Narcan application to persons who were impaired by drug overdose. And throughout the state court officers, both on and off duty over the years, have provided assistance to other law enforcement personnel, fire, and EMS personnel in some incident that they came upon while off duty. And we have recognized these officers. Over the years, we have conducted ceremonies similar to this where we pay recognition to them for going above and beyond the call of duty. I have no doubt that in this class, we will be recognizing some of you in the future as well. But let me just emphasize how important your job is. Tragically, in 2010, in Las Vegas, Nevada, a court security officer was fatally shot, and a deputy U.S. Marshal was seriously wounded in an exchange of gunfire at the Lloyd D. George Federal Courthouse in Las Vegas. On February 8, 2012, in the Middletown City Court here in New York, in Orange County, court officers responding as they were trained returned gunfire at an individual who had fired shots at their magnetometer. The perpetrator was killed, and the swift response of the court officers at the scene that day saved many lives, not only of the court personnel, but of members of the public who were at that court facility, including young children. And while a good day as a court officer involves no such incidents, we are all aware that these incidents can occur in the blink of an eye. I emphasize the importance of ongoing education and training. Many of the chiefs who are here on the dais today and their staff will be the next trainers that you will engage with. The training that you received at the Academy has provided you with a foundation, and I emphasize that, foundation for your successful service. You are different today than when you entered the Academy. However, your education does not end here. It will continue with not only hands-on experience that you will receive in the field, but in ongoing training over the years as you are called upon to evaluate and evolve your security measures to adapt to the increasing challenges faced in the courts. As court officers, you must provide the leadership necessary to instill public confidence in our system of justice. You must ensure that the public is treated with patience, dignity, and courtesy. You must work closely with your fellow officers, the judges and non-judicial personnel at the court facility you are assigned to. Remember that your actions, both on and off duty, are a reflection in the eyes of the public of not only your fellow officers, but of the judiciary as a whole. You know, recently we had some court officers in Nassau County who happened to be in a motorized patrol returning to their court facility, come upon an individual at an intersection who was slumped over the wheel of his vehicle, and he was unconscious as a result of some type of substance overdose, substance abuse, some type of drug overdose. Those officers, who will be recognized later next year in a ceremony, responded by administering Narcan and revived that individual, saved that individual's life. I had heard about the incident that day through the chain of command, but I cannot tell you how proud I was to read about it the following day in a Long Island Newsday, and where the individuals were identified as New York State court officers. Oftentimes, administrative judges are always receiving bad news, so it's nice to get the good news too as well. In my travels throughout the state, I've had the opportunity to meet with many fine officers, Schenectady being an example. I have visited many court facilities. The officers I have met have always been professional in their demeanor and their presentation. And it's not just because it's me, another judge, coming to visit them. It's just the way they are. I've enjoyed the opportunities to speak with them, to learn a little bit about their careers and their families. You should be proud that you're joining their ranks. If I have the occasion to visit your courthouse, don't hesitate, excuse me, don't hesitate to tell me about yourself. Excuse me. Finally, a word about officer wellness. And I'm borrowing a page from what I tell my fellow judges throughout the state. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of taking care of yourself. Court officers are human beings, subject to all the health risks, both physical and emotional, that people in high-stress environments may face. Make sure that you take time for yourself during the day. Relax when off duty with family and friends, which is so important. And recognize that if problems are developing, if problems are developing, You must reach out to your supervisors for assistance. It's not a sign of weakness. It's the same advice I give to judges around the state and non-judicial personnel. We have a work-life assistance program, which is totally confidential, that we would urge you to use. Again, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you're human. And we want to keep you now that you've made it through the academy. Good, thanks for the water, by the way. I can tell you, you can always count on a court officer. So let me conclude by emphasizing that the 14+ weeks of education and training you've received hopefully will serve as a catalyst for the beginning of a long and rewarding career. You will have the opportunity to meet and interact with many people, both in and out of the courtroom. At times, you may find it stressful with the increasing caseloads that the courts are called upon to manage. There also will be difficult and sometimes heartbreaking cases which you will be involved with. In spite of this, you will find your job to be interesting, rewarding, and different every day. The opportunities to contribute to a civil society by helping to resolve disputes peacefully will make your career worthwhile. So I conclude where I began. On behalf of the Chief Judge and the Chief Administrative Judge, and on behalf of all of us in the family of the Unified Court System, congratulations to you, and welcome to the ranks of the New York State Court Officers. As you join your colleagues in maintaining the professionalism of the New York State Courts, I urge you to bear in mind the words that I've shared with you. As part of the judicial team, you must work toward the goal of providing the public with fair, efficient, and safe courts. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now it's my turn to thank some people. I'd like to take a moment to thank our squad leaders, and I ask that they stand as I announce their name: Jarrett Dumoulin, Stephanie McConnell, Alexandra Diaz, Ibert Glenn, Leland Alexander, Jacqueline Rogers, Joseph Torres, and Maria Venus. Thank you. I also want to take a moment to thank the many people who work behind the scenes to get our graduates where they are today. People from our Court Officer Staffing and Security Services Unit, under the leadership of my dear friend Gregory Solano, Frank Cassiano, Major Frank Cassiano, Alicia Ostercher-Cox, the people from our Department of Public Safety, our Personnel Department, the New York State Courts Ceremonial Unit, the New York State Courts Pipes and Drums, and an amazing staff of Academy instructors who do whatever it takes to get the job done, living out of suitcases, traveling away from home, and the measure of their success is right here, the living proof: 124 successful, proud graduates. Thank you. And on a very, very personal level, and I'm echoing some of what Judge Kokoma said, it takes a tremendous amount of time, effort, resources to get our graduates where they are today. Going back to the administering of the exam for New York State Court Officer. And there are two individuals who ensure that we have the personnel, the space, the funding, and all the resources necessary to ensure success. And that is my direct boss, the Director of Human Resources, Lauren DeSole, and our budget director, who makes sure the money keeps coming our way, Maureen McAlery, and I cannot thank them enough for their support. Thank you. And now, it gives me great pleasure to call upon Court Officer Trainee Peter Canteros, the class representative, to address the Assembly on behalf of the class. Peter?
there is an old rabbinic parable about an old man nearing death who wanted to know what heaven and hell were like. He visited a wise man in his village, and upon entering the house, he found many people sitting around enormous tables with an incredible array of food. Then the old man noticed a strange thing. The people, all thin and hungry, held a very long-handled spoon, long enough to reach the pot and scoop up a spoonful of stew, but too long to get into one's mouth. No one ate. The rabbi saw that their suffering was indeed terrible, and bowing his head in compassion, said, "Now I know what hell looks like. Will you please show me heaven?" The wise man led him to another room, identical to the first. Same enormous tables, same array of food, and the same long-handled spoons. Here, however, they were well-fed and happy. This puzzled the old man, and he remarked, "I don't understand. Explain this to me." The wise man replied, "In heaven, we feed each other." What a privilege it is this afternoon to behold the countenances of court dignitaries, honored guests, academy staff, friends, family, and be once again graced by the presence of Chief Basilari. I invite everyone to take a moment and look around this auditorium. Look around at the faces. Become acclimated to them. Because from this moment forward, we're all in this together. I'm not sure if we understand the gravity of this implication. A slew of us took the court officer's exam, hoping to establish a career. Others were appointed a place in this specialized and highly trained academy. Some were given an invitation to a graduation, and the rest were respectfully designated to hold a seat of honor. As I stand here today, I reveal to you the interwoven fabric of this family, our family, and the landmark in the path that we all share. This landmark is the proclamation of synergy, the harmonious interaction of two or more organisms to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate parts. Marvel with me in this revelation as experienced by this graduating class, and bask in the knowledge that without genuine community, we cannot raise one another up. That without sharing in the valley, we'll find vacant mountaintops. That without healthy transparency, there wouldn't be the healing bond of unity. It was quite an adjustment adapting to the culture of the academy these last 16 weeks, I must say. The principles of discipline, order, and teamwork created an atmosphere where we could not breathe metaphorically because we were not trained as well as these court officers so professionally are. There was a stench of individualism that was much easier to inhale closer to the ground. Yet this academy staff, they stopped at nothing to teach us to walk upright, to build up our stamina by rendering our attitudes and implicit biases inaccessible and inoperative as we enter the facility daily. This academy was not a refinement by fire, but with Tennifer. A process that produces a non-reflective pride where we all shine together. A non-corrosive jealousy to care for each other's needs. And a process that hardens us into steel. Not space, age, polymer. It took us a while to stop swaying like dandelions in the wind during roll call. But like the staff incessantly promised, we'll get you there. They got us here. It wasn't enough to accept the idea of being our brother and sister's keeper, but to know that upon graduation, they would call us family and prepare a place for us at the table. The instructors made sure we were not facially insufficient, but they did ask us for a favor and or such. The first was to not be satisfied with good enough, because quite simply, good enough is not good enough. The second was to not stop or give up when we felt tired, or endured pain. Like Muhammad Ali exclaimed, "I don't count my sit-ups. I start counting when it starts hurting, because they're the only ones that count." In hindsight, I like to think these 16 weeks were part of a greater kata, a choreographed display of technique, fine-tuned like a metronome. Though at times it felt like the PT was better than us, or the extensive lectures would never end. We were taught that slow is smooth and that smooth is fast. Fast forward and here we are. I'll tell you this right now. We could not have asked for a more intricate, more extraordinary, more collective cast of mentors, disciplers, teachers of the unified court system. Thank you. I can attest that their dedication would not be possible without Chief Basilari at the helm of it all. You have masterfully created a unit that is architecturally sound, and we can spend hours marveling at it. But you are the chief cornerstone. You have generously bestowed upon us years of wisdom through trial and error, success and failure, death and new life. With patience, you vigilantly watched from the sidelines at our beginning during the physical ability tests to our very last assessments and examinations. With vigor, you preached focus and effort every time you stepped to the podium in class. Like a firebrand, you have burned your tenacity and enthusiasm into the staff that in turn marked us. Chief Basilari, you created a path for us with your very own footprints, and it is now ablaze with 124 new court officers ready to protect and serve. Thank you for lighting the way. Thank you for finding us worthy of the patch that you carry. I turn my attention now to the newly minted reinforcements ready to enter the court system. Class, hello, friends. I would be a fool and this speech hollow if I didn't mention the parts that make up the whole. As the Academy staff once asserted, one link of chain can't rattle by itself. The dynamic of our class is characterized by one recruit's name, Alma. In Spanish, it means soul or innermost being. And when I reflected on this, I find it impossible to not recall, recollect, or remember this graduating class. We are the Pondview Gang. We began by exhibiting the common recruit error of anticipation with one another and with this process, so the shock was pretty much predestined for us. We all experience vicarious trauma, and the emotional residue of the struggle is a stain we can't remove. We press the push-to-talk button on our radio simultaneously, not allowing the message of move as one to be transmitted. Additionally, we encountered stoppages, leaving lockers unsecured, uniform discrepancies, prohibited use of our cell phones, arriving late on the second day because you left your ID at the hotel. You know who you are. But we performed our immediate action drills and ripped our complacency out of place, worked and replaced that loaded ammo to deal with at a later time. We had to tap, rack, and ready ourselves because we began to understand that it's the chambering of the next round that counts. We all needed to develop a trigger reset, decreasing the time it took to fire the next round of triumph. As a family, we had seen horrors, but now there were glories that could not be unseen. We fed each other when we were hungry. We washed one another as we were destabilized by the OC. We squared away those that were misfitted, drove those whose cars had broken down, admonished those whose study sessions needed to last just a little bit longer. Our vulnerability had made us bulletproof. Like Kevlar, we are solidified together. Camaraderie is the blood that runs blue. When we rallied to get on our feet after each completed exercise set, it wasn't the time to catch our breath, but the time to extend ourselves so that the other could rise. The science of it all is that you can try to get up on your own, but the synergistic act forces you to rise together into an inevitable embrace. That's what you call a forward fluid shockwave. I still can't believe the hallways that echoed our cries the first week are the same hallways that echoed the cries of celebration this last week. We remembered each other, we believed in each other, we had faith in each other. Unbiased, unprejudiced, family. We don't stand alone in the face of a new horizon with Chief Oscillary and the Academy staff, or with one another as court officers, but with the undenounced support of our loved ones. You have championed with us, groaning with expectation as our metamorphosis took shape. As a cloud of witnesses, you heard our struggle. You labored with us week after week, and now you share in the exhortation of congratulations. In our devotion to this process, we hope you can see how we've been molded from cover to concealment. Actually, to concealment to cover. A more ethereal substance of ballistic integrity. We hope you can see how courteous, professional, and respectful we are, administering true justice, loving the generosity of mercy, and walking in the authority of humility. The greatest standard of proof is our consistent desire to service, being self-aware, having the energy on and off duty, to be responsible for our actions, valuing principles of ethics, striving beyond integrity, committing to the journey and not settling at the nearest destination, and having empathy towards every person who steps into the court system. To our parents, grandparents, siblings, children, spouses. To my wife, you're a queen of heaven and I couldn't have done this without you. To our significant others, we earnestly applaud you. As we join the ranks up over here, we beseech you to anchor us in our progression that it may be ever upward. A special thanks also to the hotel management that housed us, Walmart that provided a weird sense of just peace and joy and fulfillment, and to the Skodak Center for replenishing us with wrap snacks, protein bars and cookies, and deli sandwiches. But now that their resources have been exhausted, who needs it? And finally, to the courts awaiting us and our brethren within, we have become standard testing devices, ready to calibrate the unified court system. If you were to place us on the UV light, you'll see the intaglio print as evidence that we are not hired hands that run when the wolves growl, but shepherds of peace who stay the course to protect and serve. We are fire arrows in Chief Oscillary's quiver, and the string has been stretched to the maximum. To the dignitaries and honored guests, may our passion infiltrate you and let it renew yours. May you cast your shield, your gavel, your robes in the warmth and protection and nourishment of our new family, that we may, in a posture of gratitude, aid you in upholding the law with reverence forevermore, not allowing your light to dim. And now as a whole, together, as one, let the shot surprise you. Let it surprise all of you. Equal height, equal light. Thank you.
All I can say is wow. This next special presentation will be made by Major Sammy Land. Major.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
It really gave me a great pleasure to present the next award to one of you. As I remember, several months ago, 124 of you went to the range under adverse weather condition. I was there with you. There was cold, rain, snow, and also some of you was concerned about passing or failing. But everyone did fine. Everyone did good. All right? On the last day of qualification, everyone shot 5 times. Everyone did so good that we were actually expected. But of course, there's always one that come out on the top. All right, with the score, with 5 shooting, with the average score of 100, 5 times throughout. All right, the Top Gun score, all right, for the officer, for the class of December 20, 2017 is Officer J. Slater. Officer, where are you?
This next special award will be presented by Captain Vanetta Anderton.
Okay. I'm just glad I didn't have to come up here directly after Cantero's speech. How do you follow that, right? Canteros, the only thing I was waiting for you to say to the class was, how do we move? All right. All right, good afternoon, family and friends. I have the honor of presenting this award to the trainee that excelled academically. As you all know, basic training is a challenging time for all recruits, both mentally and, of course, physically. You all began this process, this journey, right before Labor Day, and here we are, Christmas time, almost a brand new year, all right? It's challenging, as Judge Kakoma said, to be away from your family, week after week, the instructors yelling at you, molding you into the individuals you are today, defensive tactics, the lectures, and I almost forgot, Canteros reminded me, the PT that you had to go through as well, and many, many more challenges. Along with all of that, you still have to pass 5 exams. So this next award that I'm going to present is to that trainee that excelled academically. And it's my pleasure to present the Academic Achievement Award to roster number 47, Raymond Lockmer, Jr.
We're particularly happy that Raymond Lockmer Jr. finally learned how to run and do a sit-up, too. So, this next award was created for a very special individual, and how befitting it is that it be presented by a very special individual, one of my dearest, if not dearest friend in the world, Chief Michael Magliano. Chief? Also known as Bert and Ernie. If you know.
For those of you who don't know, I'm Bert. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chief. When I had the privilege to address you 2 weeks ago, I spoke about the importance of treating everyone you encounter with dignity, compassion, and respect. Captain Harry Thompson was a man who embodied those tenets each day of his life. He made you strive to be a better person by just being around him, a true sign of a leader. For being a leader does not require a title, and having a title doesn't automatically make you a leader. Captain William Harry Thompson was not only a strong leader and role model, he was one of the most compassionate human beings we have ever had the privilege of knowing. He is fondly remembered for always having a kind word and a wonderful laugh, which always seemed to come at the most appropriate time. If a member of the staff was feeling down, Harry would always take the time to cheer them up and remind them to enjoy the journey. The Court Officer Trainee selected for the William Harry Thompson Leadership Award exhibits these same qualities. This recipient is highly regarded by the Academy staff as well as his classmates. He is enthusiastic, intelligent, dedicated, and hardworking. He was always supportive of his classmates, whether offering guidance as a squad leader, leading a helping hand, leading by example, and consistently putting forth his best effort. He has displayed very strong leadership qualities throughout his time here at the Academy. Recruit Jared Dumulin grew up in Corinth area and graduated for the Corinth Central School in 2002, where he wrestled and played football for the Tomahawks. Prior to beginning the Court Officers Academy, Jared served 7 years as a correctional officer for the New York State Department of Corrections. Jared enjoys camping and hunting in his free time, as well as staying physically fit. He has a 5-year-old son named Hunter and a 3-year-old daughter named Layla, who are the most important things in his life. When asked what qualities an officer should possess, this recruit stated, court officers should have discipline, dedication, integrity, and honor. As a recruit, he exhibited these qualities and much more. It is a great pleasure and honor to present the William Harry Thompson Leadership Award to Officer Jared Dumulin.
Congratulations, Jared. Just some closing remarks. Just to quote Albert Einstein, education is not the learning of the facts, but the training of the mind to think. We took 124 men and women from all different walks of life, all different creeds and colors. All right, and through training, hard work, dedication, and commitment, we train your minds to understand that service, selflessness, and sacrifice, along with humility, are the hallmarks of greatness. These basic tenets lead to success and fulfillment. Don't ever forget them. Today, you have earned the right to be called officer. The pride that you feel today should sustain you for the rest of your career. But never, ever forget the responsibility that goes with being called and being an officer. I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for your hard work and dedication, and look forward to many, many more years on the greatest job in the state of New York, if not the country. Thank you. And now I'd ask everybody in the assembly to please stand as we close out the ceremony by inviting Officer Peter Robinson to sing God Bless America. Peter?
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here today and taking time out of your busy schedules. Please enjoy a healthy and safe holiday season. God bless you all, and God bless the greatest country in the history of the world, the United States of America. We ask that you leave or exit the assembly. The graduates will be released shortly, and you can enjoy the rest of the day together. Thank you again for being here. Thank you.